Train derailed near Bendigo. The state government has long been planning an upgrade of the passenger line between Bendigo and Melbourne, but its plans for a fast rail have been criticised as short-sighted. Victoria is spending more than $600 million around the state on fast rail, promising safer, more frequent and more reliable services for regional Victorians. The new trains will hit the tracks next year, but Bendigo and Castlemaine residents believe the government is making some very costly mistakes. Kerry Ritchie reports.
There is a great sense of excitement here today. We are making history.
To the Transport Minister's delight, the first of Victoria's promised fast trains rolled off the production line a fortnight ago. When the Bracks Government came to power in 1999, it had won over many with its plans for high-speed commuter trains connecting Ballarat, Bendigo, Traralgon and Geelong to Melbourne. But 5 years on, not everyone is cheering.
A couple of our members, our older members of the group, are saying they'll be sitting on the tracks. That's how some people feel about it. And they're just, very humble, ordinary people of Bendigo who are concerned about it.
Laurie Whelan is a former mayor of Bendigo and now heads a group of residents concerned about the fast rail project. He says while spending on the ageing railway lines is overdue, the government is about to make some very costly mistakes.
Probably the biggest disappointing aspect of it is certainly the fact that they're losing one of the rail lines. People just felt that it was important to actually retain two tracks, to know that it was going to be secure and reliable.
The double track to Bendigo was built almost 150 years ago. Under the fast train project, the old lines will be ripped up and a single track, with 4 sections of double track or passing loops, will be built between Kyneton and Bendigo. The government says the new trains, which travel at 160 kilometres an hour, 30 kilometres faster than the current ones, need more space on either side of the track to meet safety standards. Locals say the government is just trying to cut back on future maintenance costs.
They're making major investments in transport, particularly in terms of the Coolah Highway. We wanted to duplicate our Coolah Highway, but here we are wanting to actually take away an existing dual track. I mean, again, people are dismayed, and I think people have actually seen through the sort of silliness of it all.
The silliness, according to locals, extends much further. The government says a new express service between Melbourne and Bendigo will take just 84 minutes, a saving of almost 40 minutes on the current regular service. But residents believe it'll delay other trains because they'll all be on a single track. Also, the line between Bendigo and Kyneton will close for 6 months later this year for construction. Locals question how future maintenance will be carried out with only a single track. But the height of the silliness, they say, is the government's decision to spend millions on broad gauge sleepers instead of gauge convertible sleepers, meaning in the near future, when regional cities must convert to standard gauge to remain part of the national rail network, Bendigo will be shut out.
Passenger services operate on broad gauge. They do in the past and they'll do in the future. Nobody is proposing that we standardise the passenger line, any section of it. And accordingly, the people who are making this unreasonable demand on the fast rail service corridors are just really trying to have money spent and blow the budget on the project.
David Cunningham moved from Melbourne to Castlemaine 2.5 years ago for a change of lifestyle.
Obviously, being within a relatively easy range of Melbourne and being an intrinsically beautiful place and having a pretty good train service, they're all great assets for the town.
But he now believes that good rail service is about to be lost, as commuters in Castlemaine and Kyneton won't be able to board the express train from Bendigo to Melbourne.
Actually, it's better for people to be able to get on the train than have it whiz past. It doesn't benefit anybody unless you happen to start in Bendigo.
David Cunningham says the state government's claims that the fast rail project will encourage people to live and do business in regional Victoria is farcical.
It's closing off opportunities, that's right. Population is projected to increase along this line as a growth corridor. We should be planning to provide for what may be needed in 50 years' time, not looking what's going to be needed in 3 years' time.
He says the government has ignored their concerns.
They've been saying, we are all ears listening. The trouble is they've stuck wax in them. I mean, they haven't listened at all, because right from the start, as soon as we began to learn the terms of the contract, people are saying, we must keep both lines.
Since the contracts were signed, the Fast Rail project team have had 30 rounds of community consultation with councils, local organisations and individuals.
One of the flaws of the project is that it has been engineering-led rather than customer-led. They're not looking at what the customer needs so much as what this engineering feat will require and generate.
Angela Munro used to work for the council in Castlemaine as the manager of economic development. She says initially local councils were leading the charge, holding community meetings about the Fast Rail project and encouraging community consultation. But now that's changed.
What has changed in the last year is that the council, the Mount Alexander Shire, is no longer willing to speak out. They're no longer willing to make public comment.
She says councils are scared they'll lose funding if they criticise the government.
I think it raises serious questions about the nature of our representation by our local members. Are they representing us, or are they representing someone in the centre? Because they don't appear to be representing our views on this.
In the rail industry, there are a group of enthusiasts who think they know how best to run and build trains and tracks, and they set up little communities and societies to do it. They are stuck in the 18th century. We want to move forward.
The Fast Rail project is due to be completed by the middle of next year. Locals say this fight is far from finished.
They haven't actually damaged anything yet. They haven't damaged the heritage stations, the bridges, they haven't modified anything, they haven't ripped up the track. So in that sense, it's not too late to do something.